And here's why we're here, the Central Australian Aviation Museum at Alice Springs, right in the centre of Australia. There are two hangars here, as well as some static displays on the outside. This is an old Canellan Airways hangar. Canellan was a very well-known Northern Territory airline, founded by Eddie Canellan, and this here is one of the hangars. Here on static display we have a DHA-3 de Havilland Drover aircraft used by the Royal Flying Doctor Service. This aircraft is named after the Reverend John Flynn of the Australian Inland Mission, who in the 1920s recognised the need to provide medical care and to send doctors out to remote areas using aircraft. This has grown into what is today the Royal Flying Doctor Service. A Canellan Airways Beech D18 that's got some work to do, but it's essentially in total. Now the original name, Canellan Airways. Mixed up with some engines on display here from various aircraft. With a Rolls-Royce Avon over in the back. Gypsy Queen 30. And one of the centrifugal jet engines. There's a Gypsy Major. And various parts of engines. So this is the original hangar used by Canellan Airways. Unfortunately, Canellan is long gone, like many airlines. We have a model of the Kookaburra. And here's the remains of the aircraft after it was found. Armstrong Siddeley Cheetah out of an Avro Anson, and we've covered those before. And here is another unique Australian aircraft, the CAC Wacket Trainer. Yeah. So the Wacket was an Australian design and built aircraft. Very simple, very rugged. I don't think I can get up close enough to. Here we go inside. Trying to keep, sorry about the hand, trying to keep the sun out of the photo. Now there you are, that's interesting. This site was the site of the first airfield in Alice Springs, and it's only a couple of kilometres from out of town. Yeah, Canal, the original hangar. And no, there's no picture here. I was looking for a picture of the first DH4 to land here. Yeah, and there's a really good picture, a painting of Conair aircraft, two herons of the airfield at Uluru, or in the old name Ayers Rock. There we go.
We've got that propeller on there, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
Oh, that one.
That's a really good story, though.
All right, let me get that. And here's the propeller, or rather, probably what's left of it. I've also included some still photos of the two aircraft in this hangar, and I will do in the next hangar also. My Nikon SLR camera, or digital SLR camera, handles the harsh light far better than the camera in my phone, and so I thought I'd provide these still photos so you get a better idea of the condition of these aircraft. I'll also commend to you the story of the Kookaburra, its original loss and how it was rediscovered. It's a story of in its own right worth reading. We then move on to what is then the second hangar. There we are, the Flying Doctor, what was then the Northern Territory Medical Service, and this is one of their doves, the DH-104 Dove. This is a quite good little museum. It'd be well worth your while to come and have a look here. The volunteers have done a great job. Like all these museums, we're all volunteers. It doesn't matter which museum we belong to. Everyone puts their hours in with the hope we can preserve aircraft that you can come and visit at these museums. And here's a Percival Proctor, one of the beautiful aircraft designed by Edgar Percival, an Australian who did the match-winning Mew Gull that won so many races in the early days. A beautiful aircraft. Yep, we have a Tiger Knife body here, right through there.
It's a replica, I built it.
Oh, here's the gentleman who built it.
And the Canadian Airways used it for 3 years, the Tiger Knife. They had 3 Tiger Knives, there.
Yep.
And this is a replica of it. And I used to fly out all over the place and pick up people. And back in those days, we only had one doctor in Alice Springs, and if the doctor had to go out, this stretcher had to go down there, and the doctor sat in there, and then they flew out to the site where the injury is. And if the patient had to come back to Alice Springs, the doctor had to stay on site, and it could be there for hours and hours and hours before the Tiger Moth could come back and pick him up. So it can only, the pilot
And the passenger and the patient.
Yeah,
there we are.
that's all, yeah.
And there's the man who built the replica himself.
Yeah, this is being built a little bit behind middle. They started out like that. I got plans from the UK and slowly built it, and lots of little friends come and jumped in it when I was building it, and here it is where I've just brought it in here and donated it to the museum. And I've been with the museum, there I am, and a couple of mates there working on the the covering there.
You're putting the fabric on?
Yes, and it's been here for 10 years and it's been here for quite a few years now. So.
Now, there's the true story right from the man who did it. Now,
it's a flying doctor's service.
Yep. Now here we have what everyone wants to see tied up with plane savers, a DC-3. Unfortunately at this stage I ran out of memory on my phone with all the travels we're doing, so we'll have to rely on the still photos that follow. The DC-3 actually commenced life as a C-47 in military service and was, like many of the C-47s, demobbed at the end of the war and civilianised. As you can see, this one appears to be in excellent condition. It still has all its passenger seats, and from what I could see down the back, the cockpit looked like it was fully fitted out. You can't say Kennellan didn't provide all the creature comforts for their passengers. Here is one of their shelters. And another vintage aircraft that was used by Kennellan back in the early days, the Percival Proctor. This one also appears to be in excellent condition. And then we move on to a slightly smaller aircraft, the ubiquitous Oster that seems to turn up everywhere. And a better look at the replica fuselage of the de Havilland Tiger Moth that Bob built from original plans without the sun blinding us. And now a reminder of the perils of aviation in the early days. The main plane of a crashed monospar that's been recovered. And with a bit of a summary of the Flying Doctor and some of the aircraft used, you can see the drover down there in the bottom left hand corner, and of course the Dove that's represented here. And here is a de Havilland Heron of Kennellan Airways when he changed his name to Conair, and the DH Heron is one of the first commuter airliners. This one's obviously been re-engined, probably with the Lycoming engines. From the head-on shot you can see how narrow the fuselage of the Heron and also the Dove. They are quite tiny. That's two abreast seating in the cabin and two in the cockpit. It doesn't leave much room to move around. And something somewhat different, and the hope of being able to save an aerodrome rather than just aircraft. 7 Mile Aerodrome was the original World War II base here at Alice Springs, about 10 kilometres out of town. The main runway at Alice Springs Airport was the runway that was put down. There is a rumour around that the museum in town might be trying to do something with this. As I mean, a number of the buildings still exist. The old control tower, the Bellman hangar, the officers' mess, as well as other buildings. It'd be a shame to see them go to waste. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the visit to the Central Australian Aviation Museum, and I look forward to being able to bring something to you for other museums now that COVID-19 seems to be somewhat under control.